Have you ever wondered what happens when the doors of the Sistine Chapel close to elect a new pope? The film Conclave takes us right inside this ancient secretive process, and it's far more intense than you might imagine. This isn't just about faith. It's about power, ambition, and the very human drama that unfolds behind sacred walls. The film kicks off with the sudden death of the Pope. The news sends shockwaves through the Catholic Church, and immediately, the process to elect his successor begins. This is the conclave. We're introduced to our guide through this labyrinthine world, Cardinal Thomas Lawrence, played brilliantly by Ralph Fiennes. As the Dean of the College of Cardinals, his job isn't to become the next Pope. Instead, he's the referee, the one responsible for ensuring the election is fair, orderly, and above all, secret. From the start, Lawrence is a fascinating character. He's a man of quiet intelligence and deep observation. He seems burdened by the weight of his responsibility, carrying a sense of doubt about the Church's future. He's not seeking power. He's trying to manage it. You get the sense that he's seen too much, knows too much, and is deeply conflicted about what he must do. As cardinals from all over the world descend upon the Vatican, the film masterfully introduces the main contenders for the papacy. Each one represents a different vision for the future of the Church. First, there's Cardinal Bellini from Italy. He's the progressive, the reformer. He argues that the Church is at a crossroads and must modernize to survive. He's the kind of leader who believes in dialogue and adaptation, which makes him a favorite among the more liberal cardinals. Then we have Cardinal Tremblay from Canada. He's the opposite in many ways. Charismatic, yes, but also a political operator. He's a master strategist who understands the game of influence. He represents a more assertive, almost corporate approach to leading the Church, and you can tell he's been planning his moves for a long time. Representing the traditionalist wing is Cardinal Adeyemi from Africa. He's a powerful voice for conservatism, arguing that the Church must hold fast to its core doctrines and resist the pressures of a secular world. He believes the institution's strength lies in its unchanging principles, not in adapting to fleeting cultural trends. And finally, there's the dark horse, Cardinal Benitez from Latin America. He's a quiet, almost unassuming figure who stays on the sidelines. But his silence is heavy with meaning. He doesn't campaign or make grand speeches, yet his presence is felt. He's an outsider, and his very existence in this power struggle raises questions that no one is yet asking. Once the cardinals are sealed inside the Sistine Chapel, the real drama begins. The heavy doors lock, and the world is shut out. What was supposed to be a sacred spiritual retreat quickly devolves into a high-stakes political battlefield. The illusion of unity and divine purpose starts to crumble almost immediately. This is where the film truly shines. It shows us that beneath the crimson robes and pious rhetoric, these men are just that men. They are driven by the same ambitions, fears, and desires that shape politics everywhere. Alliances are formed in hushed conversations in the corridors. Secret pacts are made. Rumors are weaponized to discredit rivals. Votes are not cast based on divine inspiration, but traded for promises of influence and power. And at the center of it all is Cardinal Lawrence, watching everything unfold. Because he is supposed to be the impartial overseer, everyone feels they can talk to him. He becomes the keeper of all secrets. He sees the subtle manipulations, the whispered deals, the moral compromises being made in the name of God. He notices the inconsistencies in their stories and the fear behind their eyes. This forces him into an incredibly uncomfortable position. He's committed to his role as a neutral arbiter, but he is witnessing a process that feels less like a holy election and more like a corporate takeover. He slowly comes to a devastating realization. Choosing the next pope isn't about finding the most spiritual man. It's about human fragility, backroom dealing, and a desperate struggle for survival. His faith isn't just in God, but in the institution of the Church, and he sees that institution bending under the weight of human weakness. Let's take a closer look at Cardinal Lawrence. He is the conscience of the film. He's a reluctant leader, thrust into a position of immense authority that he never wanted. His moral compass is strong, but the more he sees, the more disillusioned he becomes. He represents that internal struggle we all face. What do you do when the system you believe in turns out to be deeply flawed? Lawrence's greatest strength is not his power, but his attention to detail and his unwavering integrity. He listens more than he speaks. He observes the small gestures, the fleeting glances, the things left unsaid. But this same integrity becomes a source of isolation. In a room full of political players, the one person who refuses to play the game is left standing alone. He grapples with a profound moral dilemma. His silence is required by his role, but he starts to understand that silence can also be a form of complicity. By not intervening, is he allowing the corruption to fester? What is so brilliant about the film is that it doesn't paint the other cardinals as one-dimensional villains. They are complex human beings. Each one genuinely believes he is acting for the good of the church. Bellini thinks reform is the only way to save it. Tremblay believes strong, decisive leadership is necessary. Adeyemi is convinced that holding on to tradition is the only path forward. They justify their political maneuvering and moral compromises because they believe the stakes are that high. Power, the film shows us, rarely introduces itself as outright corruption. It often arrives disguised as responsibility, as a necessary evil for a greater good. This brings us to some of the powerful life lessons from the first half of Conclave. First, it is a stark reminder that even the most sacred institutions are ultimately a reflection of human nature. They are built and run by flawed individuals with their own egos, fears, and blind spots. No system, no matter how holy, is immune to the misanthropes of being human. Second, the film teaches us a crucial lesson about power. It rarely announces itself with a villain's monologue. Instead, it creeps in disguised as duty, as tradition, or as the only logical choice. The cardinals aren't trying to be corrupt. They simply believe their ambition is what's best for the world, and that's a far more insidious and relatable form of moral compromise. Another key theme is that silence is never neutral. Cardinal Lawrence's struggle highlights this perfectly. Choosing not to act, not to speak up, is a decision in itself, and it has consequences. In a system where politics and power are at play, staying on the sidelines means you are letting the players dictate the outcome. It's a powerful message about the responsibility that comes with knowledge. Finally, the film shows that integrity can be a lonely path. Lawrence's refusal to play the political game sets him apart from everyone else. Doing the right thing, or at least trying to, often means you won't be popular. It means you might have to stand alone against the current. This is the price of conscience, and Lawrence is paying it in full. The first half of Conclave sets the stage for an explosive and thought-provoking story. It's a masterful examination of what happens when faith collides with human ambition. We're left with so many questions. Who are these men, really? What secrets are they hiding? And how will Cardinal Lawrence navigate this moral minefield without losing his own soul? The doors are locked, the first votes have been cast, and the fate of one of the world's oldest institutions hangs in the balance. The real story begins. As the votes drag on, the atmosphere inside the Vatican turns toxic. The cardinals, once united in purpose, are now splintering into factions. Whispers turn into accusations, and secrets, long buried, start to claw their way to the surface. It becomes clear that several leading candidates are hiding past sin's actions that, if revealed, could shatter the Church's credibility. This is the crucible for our protagonist, Cardinal Lawrence. He started as a loyal administrator, a man dedicated to maintaining order. But now, he's holding a lit match, and the entire institution is a powder keg. He faces an impossible choice. Does he bury the truth to protect the Church from scandal, preserving its fragile stability? Or does he uphold its moral foundation by exposing the rot, even if it means tearing everything down? This dilemma is the heart of the film. It forces us to ask what it truly means to be responsible. Is it about protecting an institution at all costs, or is it about protecting the principles that institution is supposed to represent? Lawrence's journey shifts from being a facilitator to becoming a moral catalyst. He's beginning to realize that sometimes true responsibility requires destruction before renewal is even possible. The conclave grinds to a halt. The voting is deadlocked. The cardinals are no longer debating faith or theology. They're engaged in raw political warfare. They are fighting to control the narrative, to decide which version of the truth will prevail. The fear of a complete collapse hangs heavy in the air. The film does a masterful job of showing how good people, driven by fear, can make terrible choices. The cardinals' good intentions don't save them from moral failure. And just as it seems the process will implode, a quiet figure begins to emerge from the shadows. Cardinal Benitez. He's been overlooked this whole time, precisely because he isn't playing the game. He doesn't campaign, he doesn't make deals, he doesn't manipulate. He speaks rarely, but when he does, his words are filled with a profound humility, not ambition. Benitez is a powerful symbol in the story. He represents a different kind of leadership, one rooted in service rather than a hunger for power. He is the living embodiment of the idea that the best leaders are often the ones who never sought the position in the first place. His strength doesn't come from political maneuvering. It comes from his apparent lack of desire for the papal throne. He becomes an uncomfortable mirror for the other cardinals, reflecting their own desperate ambitions back at them. The tension builds to a critical breaking point. Lawrence uncovers a final devastating piece of information, a truth so explosive it could destroy not just one candidate, but several. It threatens the legitimacy of the entire election. This is his moment of truth. The film frames this not just as a political decision, but as a deeply personal one. He has to decide what he's willing to sacrifice. And he makes his choice. He chooses truth over stability. He chooses conscience over institution. He releases the information and the conclave fractures. The immediate result is chaos, anger, and betrayal. But through that fire, something else happens. The air is cleared. The lies and half-truths that were poisoning the process are burned away. It's a painful, brutal cleansing. This act forces every cardinal in that room to look beyond politics and confront what leadership actually means. Is it about winning? Is it about power? Or is it about something deeper? The final vote is not a moment of triumph or celebration. There are no cheers. There is only a heavy, sobering clarity. The cardinals finally understand that the Church cannot be led by the most powerful political operator, but by the one least corrupted by the pursuit of power. The film ends on a quiet, contemplative note. It's less about who finally wins the election and more about what was lost, what was exposed, and what was learned along the way. Cardinal Lawrence learns a difficult lesson. Protecting the truth can cost you everything: your reputation, your career, your sense of belonging. Moral courage demands a price. So, what can we take away from this intense second half? The film offers some profound life lessons. First, that truth is almost always disruptive, but it is necessary. Any stability built on a foundation of lies is an illusion, and it will always collapse eventually. It's a reminder that no institution and no person can ever truly heal or grow without confronting its own shadows. Renewal can only begin with radical honesty. Second, the film is a powerful critique of ambition. It argues that those who desperately crave power are almost always the least suited to wield it. True leadership isn't about the desire to control others. It's about a willingness to serve and to sacrifice. Ultimately, Conclave isn't just a political thriller set in the Vatican. It's a profound meditation on power, conscience, and the weight of our choices. It poses a timeless question: is it more important to preserve an institution, or to preserve the truth it was built on? And it leaves us with one final chilling insight. The most dangerous corruption isn't always born from evil intent. More often, it's born from fear disguised as duty. It's the fear of instability, the fear of scandal, the fear of losing control that leads good people to compromise their principles, one small step at a time until they no longer recognize themselves. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into Conclave. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Lawrence's final decision? And what does true leadership mean to you? If you enjoyed this analysis, please give this video a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching.